We'll wrap up statistics talking about two-way tables. Two-way tables are a way to compare two sets of data. We'll have them either in a Venn diagram that we will convert to a table, or they'll just be given to you in a table. Information we can get from a two-way table is called the relative frequency. The relative frequency is just how often something happens divided by the total amount of outcomes. So to find it, you want to find the percentage of that event happening. So take the number in that category, divide it by your total number of outcomes. So our first example, we had 50 students in a school were asked if they were in a foreign language or in a sport. The information shown in the Venn diagram below. So to review a Venn diagram, this circle stands for foreign language. This circle stands for people in a sport. The area that is shared, that overlaps in the middle, represents that 14 students are in both a foreign language and a sport. The number on the outside means that they are not in a foreign language or sport. We need to take the information from that Venn diagram and turn it into a two-way table now. So the first thing we can put down is that there were 50 students total. So in our total boxes, we want 50. Right. When you're doing the two-way table, you kind of have to go in order. Right. This first box wants the amount of people that are in a sport and also in a foreign language. So the amount that are in both. And that amount we talked about earlier was 14. That's the middle of your Venn diagram. If I go to my next, let's go to the right, I want a number that is in the sport but not in the foreign language. So if we look at the Venn diagram, people who are in sports, not foreign language, that stood for 10 students. Right? So, and then to get our total at the end, we just want to add straight across. 10 plus 14 would be, there are 24 students that played in sports. 24 students in sports. Alright. To fill in the next column of our table, we want to find students who fell not in a sport but in a foreign language. So not in a sport, in a foreign language. So that would be the number just in the foreign language circle, which was 23. Okay. Our next box is not in a sport, not in a foreign language. So that's the number that was on the outside, which was 3. And then add straight across, 23 plus 3 would give me 26. And you can add down to get your totals. 14 plus 23 would be 37. 10 plus 3 would be 13. Now make sure you're right. These numbers should add across to give you 50. 37 plus 13 does equal 50. And then these numbers adding down should equal 50 also. 24 plus 6, 26 equals 50. So what we can tell from this is there were 37 students that took a foreign language. There were 13 students that did not take a foreign language. There were 26 students that were not in sports, 24 students that were in sports. Right, so to answer the questions below, how many students were in a foreign language? Okay, so total in a foreign language as our first column, go down to your total, and it would be 37. How many students play a sport? You're going to go to your total, and that played in sport, which would be 24. How many students did neither? That was the number that was not in any circles, so that would be the 3. And how many students played a sport but did not take a foreign language? So I need to look at my headings here. Played a sport, did not take a language, would be 10. Okay, then the last thing we want to do is find the relative frequency of each category. So to do that, you need to take the amount in each box and divide it by the total amount. So in this case, our total amount was 50 students. So we want to take each one of the numbers and divide it by 50. So in our first box here, we had we had 14 students that were in a sport and in foreign language. So if I did 14 divided by 50, it would give me a percentage of 0.28. So my relative frequency was 28% or 0.28. Right? Let's keep going. There were 10 students that were in a sport but not in a foreign language, so I would do 10 divided by 50, which would give me 0.20. Then you can add those together to get the total. 0.28 plus 0.2 would be 0.48. Or you could also divide that number by 50, so we get the same answer. To find the relative frequency of these students in a foreign language but not in a sport, you would do 23 divided by 50, which would give you a 0.46 relative frequency, 46%. 3 divided by 50 would give you a 0.06 or a 6%. This would give me a 52 if I add it across. And then total, we can add those together, give me a 74. Add these together, give me a 0.26. And 50 out of 50 is 100% or 1.00. So to find relative frequency, take the amount in each category and divide it by your total amount.